After 30 years in construction, I used my savings to build them a backyard guest house. My son-in-law promised it was ours for life. Last Sunday, I returned from the hospital to find a lock changed and a note taped to the door. We need more space. Go find a nursing home. I slept in my truck that night, but 10 days later I showed up with, I'm 66. My name's Frank. I've been in construction almost all my life, concrete, framing, roofing, even did some plumbing and finish work when needed. I've built houses from the ground up, worked with real people, broken my back more times than I can count. I lost my wife in '97. Car wreck. My daughters were 12 and 9. I raised them the best I could. Not perfect, but I gave everything I had. Erica's my youngest. She was the quieter one, but smart. She went to college, married this guy James, real estate agent, smooth talker, never liked him much. Always thought he talked too much and worked too little. Erica loved him though. So I gave him a chance. 3 years ago, after I retired, Erica called and said they wanted me to come live closer. She said they had the backyard space and wanted me nearby to help with the kids and be part of the family again. I was hesitant. I had my own house back in Montana, quiet and simple, but I missed my grandkids. And yeah, I was starting to feel age catching up with me. James said, "Don't waste money on rent. Let's build you a guest house in the backyard. It'll be yours for life." Those words, yours for life, they stuck with me. So I did it. I sold my home, took $95,000 out of my savings and built the guest house myself. Poured the slab, framed it, insulated every wall, ran the electrical, even custom built the cabinets. I spent 4 months on it, sun up to sundown every day. I didn't cut corners. I treated it like it was my last job, because it was. They gave me keys. I moved in. It wasn't big, but it was mine. I was finally close to my grandkids. I'd cook for them, fix little things around their house, pick the boys up from school. I even helped James fix their leaky kitchen sink. He didn't know what a basin wrench was. Then 2 months ago, I started having chest pains. At first, I thought it was heartburn. But one morning I got dizzy, then sweaty, and passed out near the porch. They called an ambulance. I remember Erica riding with me. I woke up in a hospital bed. Turned out I didn't have a heart attack, but they put in a stent. Told me to take it easy. They kept me there for nights. Erica visited twice. James didn't come at all. When I got out, I took a cab home. But something was wrong. I walked around the back of their house to my place. All the blinds were shut. That was odd. I got to the door, and I saw it. A white piece of printer paper taped to the glass. It said, "Frank, we've talked about this. The boys need space to grow. We've found you a few senior housing options. It's time to move forward. Please understand. My key didn't work. I tried calling Erica. No answer. I knocked on the house door. James opened it a crack and said, "Frank, this is what's best. We'll be in touch." Then he closed the door in my face. I stood there for maybe 5 minutes, staring at the wood grain in that door. My hands were shaking. I walked back to the driveway, sat in my truck, and stared at the place I built. I drove to a Walmart parking lot and tried to sleep. I couldn't. My chest was tight. Not from my heart this time, but from something else. Something deeper. For the next few days, I tried to figure out what to do. I stayed in a $45 a night motel for 2 nights, but I couldn't afford to keep that up. I started showering at the gym, eating fast food. I tried calling again Erica, James, even texted my oldest daughter, but she lives in Oregon and didn't want to get in the middle. Day 5 came, then 6. Still no contact. I finally pulled out the folder I kept in my glove box. It had everything: plans, receipts, permit filings, emails with James. And that's when I remembered something. James didn't know what he was doing with permits. He told me to file the guest house under his name for tax benefits. But I knew better. I filed it under a joint use clause and put my name on the land improvement record. Not just my name, mine only. I also had the full paper trail showing I paid for 100% of it. No joint account, no gifts, just me. And I remembered something else. One of my old apprentices, Tommy, he was a scrawny kid I trained in Denver in the early 2000s. He was terrible with a hammer but smart with books. He went on to law school. We stayed in touch. I gave him a call, told him everything. He told me to scan and send every paper I had. I spent that whole night using the library copier and emailing him every scrap. The next day he called me back. "Frank," he said, "they screwed up, and you're legally in the clear. That building is yours. You hold the improvement rights. The landline gets tricky, but you've got enough for a case. You want to go after them?" I didn't answer right away, but that night, sleeping in my truck again, I thought about everything I gave up. My home, my money, my time, and how they threw me out like I was nothing. The next morning I called him back. "I want to go after them. All the way." Tommy got to work fast. He's in Oklahoma City, about 2 hours from Tulsa. 3 days later, he drove down and met me at a Denny's. He had a manila folder stuffed with papers and a look on his face I'd only seen once before, back when he messed up a framing job and had to redo a whole kitchen wall in the snow. "This is solid, Frank," he said. "They treated you like trash, but the law's on your side. Now you need to decide, do you want to sue for damages? Or do you want to take back what's yours? I want them to feel what I felt. That's all." Tommy nodded. "Then we'll play it loud." Turns out the paperwork trail was better than I thought. I'd been careful, maybe more than I realized. I'd kept James off every invoice. And because I did all the labor myself, there were no contractors involved, just receipts for materials, all paid with checks from my account. The permits were filed under James's property, but Tommy found a loophole because I had written agreements about lifetime use in some emails and texts. That, and the fact that James never paid a cent, it gave us leverage. Tommy also found something else. James had refinanced the house just 2 months ago, right before I went to the hospital. That paperwork included an expanded square footage value, which meant the appraiser included the guest house. In other words, James tried to use my work to boost his mortgage value. That was fraud. I sat in Tommy's car as he explained it, and something cold settled in my gut. "They didn't just kick me out," I said. "They planned this." He nodded. "Yeah, they were waiting." We filed a property dispute with the county and froze James's ability to sell or refinance again. Tommy also filed a cease and desist to block any changes to the structure. Then, we went one step further. We filed an injunction requesting that the structure be removed from their land or transferred officially to me, with compensation. That got their attention. For days after the filing, Erica finally called me. I was sitting in the parking lot of a laundromat when the phone buzzed. Her voice was flat. "Dad, why are you doing this? Why'd you lock me out of my home? You're making this ugly. We thought you'd be safe somewhere else. You need help." "No," I said. "I needed my family. But you chose space over me. And now you're going to learn what that costs." She hung up. That night, I didn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling of my truck and thought about my wife, about raising 2 little girls, about giving up everything to be close to them. The next morning, Tommy handed me the final move in our play. We had a demolition permit, a letter from the county, and the confirmation of a lien against their house due to improper appraisal disclosures. Tommy told me we could go in and reclaim the building or tear it down. Either way, we'd be sending a message. "Want to swing the hammer, Frank?" he asked. "No," I said, "but I'll start the machine." We rolled in on a clear Sunday morning. James was washing his car in the driveway. He saw the flatbed truck with the bulldozer and ran toward us like he was on fire. "What the hell is this?" Tommy stepped forward, clean suit, mirrored glasses. "You've been served. You're no longer authorized to block Mr. Duvall from reclaiming the structure he fully financed, built, and legally documented." "You can't be serious," James spat. "This is harassment." "Go ahead," Tommy said. "Call the sheriff." He did. 10 minutes later, 2 cruisers pulled up, but I had every form printed, signed, notarized. The sheriff scanned through them, then turned to James and said something I'll never forget. "He's got the right. You should have handled this different." Erica came out then, holding one of the boys. She looked scared. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time in weeks, I saw something in her face that looked like regret. But it was too late. I got in the bulldozer. I started with the front porch. The swing went first, split clean in 2. Then the roofline. Then the walls. It only took 20 minutes to turn months of my work into rubble. My hands were shaking, but I kept going. Because this wasn't just about the building. It was about respect. It was about the years I gave and how little they thought of me. I climbed down when it was done. Walked past Erica. She tried to say something. I didn't let her. You let him speak for you. You let him throw me out. Now you live with this. James looked like he wanted to punch something but knew better. The kids were crying, and I just walked away. But it wasn't over yet, because Tommy had one more surprise in the works. 3 days after I tore the guest house down, James filed a restraining order. Claimed I was unstable, dangerous, and destroying property out of spite. Didn't matter that the court had already ruled in my favor. Didn't matter that I had permits, legal approval, and signed documents. He filed anyway, and for a couple days it stalled things. But Tommy saw it coming. He'd already prepped a countersuit, elder abuse, property fraud, and unlawful eviction. We attached all the text messages, the emails with the promise it's yours for life, and even a copy of the refinance document where James claimed full ownership of a structure I paid for. Tommy also found something else. Apparently, James didn't just use my guest house to inflate the value of their property. He used it to get approved for a private loan from some out-of-state lender. $80,000, no collateral beyond the house. And that loan, it was already delinquent. So while James was trying to paint me as some crazy old man, he was drowning in debt and using my work as a life raft. Tommy looked at me one morning and said, "You want to go nuclear?" I said, "Light the fuse." We filed a fraud claim with the mortgage lender and the secondary lender. Sent every bit of evidence. Receipts, photos, demolition permits, and legal rulings. I watched James's world start to crack like drywall under a busted pipe. Then came the real twist. I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. A woman's voice. Quiet, shaky. "Frank, it's Donna. I don't know how to say this." Donna was James's ex-wife. From before he met Erica. I'd only heard about her once in passing. But apparently she'd found out what was happening through a mutual friend on Facebook who saw the bulldozer post someone had shared. Turns out James had done this before. Back in 2007, he convinced Donna's parents to co-sign a business loan for a real estate venture that never existed. They ended up losing their retirement fund when he defaulted. He never paid them back, just walked away and disappeared from their lives. Sound familiar? She'd been waiting for someone else to stand up to him, and she was willing to help. Donna gave us signed statements, old records, emails, all the same pattern. She even had a letter he wrote her parents that included the line, "Consider this an investment in your future son-in-law." Tommy lit up when he saw it. This is a pattern. This isn't just a dispute. This is predatory behavior. He added it to the case. Then we filed another motion. This time for civil fraud with intent to deceive and extract financial benefit under false pretense. It got greenlit. James was screwed, but he didn't know it yet. Not until we showed up at the mediation table. They tried to settle. Erica sat across from me, looking like she hadn't slept in days. James had that fake calm he always used, hands folded, little smile, like he still thought he could charm his way out of anything. Tommy read through the terms. We were asking for full repayment of all material costs plus interest, public acknowledgement of wrongful eviction, lien placement on their home, forfeiture of the loan. He secured using the structure and $50,000 in damages for emotional distress and illegal lockout. James laughed. "You'll never get that." Tommy pulled out a file, dropped it on the table. "Then we go to court. And when we do, this becomes public record. Your past, your debts, your false appraisals, all of it." I just looked at Erica. "You let your husband throw your father out. You left me in a truck. You let your kids ask where Grandpa went and didn't even tell them the truth." She didn't respond, just wiped her eyes and looked away. James folded. He signed the agreement. He didn't even read half of it. Probably didn't want the press involved. His real estate license was already on thin ice. But even after everything, I still wasn't satisfied. Because while James was about to lose everything, I knew they'd still be living in that house, pretending it never happened. Until Tommy got one more idea. "We can put a lien on the land," he said, "and file for petition. Force them to sell the house if they can't pay the damages." That meant if James couldn't cough up the money, they'd have to sell the house. Erica called me that night, sobbing. "Dad, please. The boys. They love this place." I stayed silent. "You're really going to take the house from your own daughter?" I said the truth. "You're not the daughter I raised." And I hung up. The court ruled in our favor 2 weeks later. The damages came out to just under $142,000 with penalties, fees, and interest. James had 30 days to pay. He didn't. Instead, he tried to hide behind excuses. Claimed the market was bad, said the banks were slow, tried to delay. But Tommy had already filed the lien and pushed for a forced sale. That's how I ended up standing on the edge of their front lawn 3 months after they threw me out, watching a foreclosure auction sign go up in the grass. James didn't come outside. Erica did. She was holding my oldest grandson's hand. He looked confused. She looked tired. "You're really going through with this?" she asked, barely loud enough for me to hear. James had a choice. You had a choice. I slept in my truck. Erica. That's not something I'll forget. The house sold fast. Not even 3 weeks later. It went to a property group. The new owners sent a letter that gave Erica and James 45 days to leave. No appeals. I didn't smile, but I felt something in my chest finally let go. Tommy and I stood outside the courthouse the day the deed officially transferred. He handed me a copy and said, "You want the plot back, Frank? We can buy it from the property group at half the price." I nodded. "Let's do it." By the end of the month, the same backyard that once held my guest house was mine again. Clean, empty land. But this time with no strings. I didn't rebuild. Instead, I turned that patch of dirt into a memorial garden. For my wife. For my peace. I even laid one of the cracked concrete blocks from the old porch into the soil as a marker. I go there sometimes just to sit. But that's not where the story ends. Because a year later, I ran into Erica again by accident. At a grocery store in Broken Arrow. She was working the register. I didn't recognize her at first. She looked older. Pale. Like life had caught up with her in all the ways it hadn't when she was under James's spell. She didn't say anything until I was bagging my groceries. Then, softly, he left us. Took the car and vanished. Left me with the kids and the debt. I paused. "I'm sorry," she said, eyes wet. "I thought he knew what he was doing. I didn't want to hurt you." I didn't know how to stop it. I looked at her for a long time. And then I said what I had come to believe in the quiet nights since all this happened. You don't get to say sorry once and fix it. Some things don't come back. Not all the way. I walked out. But I didn't hate her. Not anymore. Hate rots the person holding it. I done what I had to. I defended what I built. I made them feel the loss they handed me. I made them answer for every lie. A month after that, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just a check. For $4,000. Folded inside was a note in her handwriting. "I know it's not enough. I just wanted you to know I'm trying." I didn't cash it, but I framed it and hung it up in my garage. Let it be a reminder that even when people tear you down, you still get to choose what you build next.